Very good.
Okay, everyone's gonna join the meeting now.
Hello, Joseph. As we allow people in, I'll just give you the quick heads up that we'll be doing, Leanne will be on with the bike bus first, and then we will, I'm sorry, with the Safe Routes to School, and then we'll be getting to the bike bus after a short question period on Safe Routes to School. Joe is working on mic issues. I feel your pain, Joe. God. And Karen, we were discussing the Idaho stop, and I will say that I have, I feel like many cyclists, you know, our sort of real slowdown is slower than most cars are stopping anyway. I kind of feel like we already have a little bit of an Idaho stop. My fear of the Idaho stop is that cyclists would really take too much, you know, latitude.
You're afraid that
with
would
that.
take leeway?
Yeah, and they would, it would really make things very confusing. And I actually heard from someone who had that in their state, and they said it caused a lot of confusion. And then you really didn't know who was going to go between motorists and cyclists. So I'm not a fan. As much as I'd rather address the cyclist getting ticketed for going through a stop. You know, I think it's like one of those common sense things where you slow down, you look, you're not going to ride out if it's, you know, not in your best interest. And like I said, I think our slowing, not a track stand like a complete stop, but our slow gives us the opportunity to view the situation, since we have such good visibility on bikes. So we are at the 12:02 mark. Do you see anybody else, Revathi, in the
People are joining. People do keep joining, so I'm just letting them in as they come.
Yep. Okay.
Paul, someone in the chat said that there might have been some difficulty entering the meeting with the
yes,
meeting ID.
yes, I saw that. I'm very sorry about that. So my name is Paul Mikowitz. I'm with the New Jersey Bike Walk Coalition, and I am the program director for New Jersey Bike Walk. And I will be conducting a number of smart cycling classes coming up in September. Been doing a few over the past few months. Also doing some online classrooms as well. And then just by appointment support on some of our resources in our Safe Network website. So we have been assembling resources that will help support advocates in their local communities to better navigate all the issues of Vision Zero and safe systems approach and all those in between, complete streets, and learning about how to best navigate making change, positive change in their local communities, in your local communities. So a lot of great things happening out there. We get together once a month here in a webinar style connection meeting, and we have different presentations. We had a great presentation last month with some folks from Bike JC, or Jersey City, I should say, and Hudson County to share their experience with, and Downward Island, municipalities working with the counties, and that can be tricky. How do we do that? So we try to address different issues that local advocates are working with, how to navigate grant applications, and to better understand what tools are available to influence and educate our local communities. So Leanne is going to, Leanne Von Hagen, who, Leanne, I have to say, I really appreciate all the work you've been doing over the years. I feel like you're an unofficial mentor to me because I've learned so much from you over the years. You,
Right
Laura,
back at you, Paul.
and so I appreciate you coming on. And Rutgers, Bike and Pedestrian Resource Center has been a super resource, my number one favorite resource. And I know that the Safe Routes to School is a great program. There's a lot of people that have heard about it, but don't necessarily know all the moving parts. And I know you are going to be sharing that with us today, and hopefully we have people that will learn a lot and want to learn even more. And Leanne, I'll just like to start the meeting and kind of turn it over to you and just invite you to maybe give us a little update on anything new as it relates to Safe Routes to School or any other cutting edge, breaking news. So over to you, Leanne.
Okay, thank you so much, Paul. And I appreciate what you said, but also I learned so much from you guys at Bike Walk Coalition all the time. So it's mutual. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. I got a few slides to go through that, like Paul asked, to do a little bit about what is Safe Routes to School if you're not familiar. And I know I'm so happy to see some folks on here that I do know, including my colleagues from Rutgers, Sean Meehan and John Dugan, who do really the bulk of the work at the Safe Routes Resource Center at Rutgers. And others like the TMAs that are here today who also do so much for Safe Routes to School. So I'm going to do a little bit of an overview and background, and I'm going to tie it up with some of the what's new in Safe Routes to School, and including the grant solicitation that's out right now for grant money. So let me just share my screen. Let's see. I think this is the one. There we go. Okay. You're seeing my screen, not my notes, correct? Yes. Okay. Thanks, Katie. Okay.
Yes.
So let me just get going here. Like I said, I would just start with some of the basics. So the Safe Routes to School program is not just in New Jersey. It's a federal, state, and local effort to create safer and more appealing conditions for students to walk and bike and use other wheeled active transportation devices as a healthy part of everyday life. So one of the things we like to say is where it's safe, get youth, including those with disabilities, walking and bicycling and rolling more. Where it's not safe, we need to work to make it safe. The aim of this program is, as it was written from the federal government, is to foster healthy and active lifestyles from an early age. And so another thing we like to say is a lifetime of being active begins on the way to school. For the New Jersey Safe Routes to School program, we have a vision and a mission. So our vision is that Safe Routes for All provides safe and equitable access to active transportation for people of all ages and abilities from all backgrounds and neighborhoods in New Jersey, with our mission being to partner with schools and communities to prioritize and implement opportunities for people to walk, bike, or travel by other wheeled devices. So by focusing on improvements to support active travel, we believe we can create conditions that are safe and appealing for students and everyone. So here's some of the what's new. In November of 2021, the Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or IIJA, which is also weirdly also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, or BIL. We sometimes use those two acronyms interchangeably. It's a little confusing, but it's called both. So it was signed into law, and it did provide some significant funding for new transportation programs that could really dramatically increase mobility and safety for all vulnerable road users, with a focus on bicyclists and pedestrians. So this has some even more importance for Safe Routes to School. So it's part of the law to prioritize communities where there's been chronic underinvestment and a lack of participation in transportation decision choices. Increased funding for transportation equity, sustainability, resilience, climate change, safety, and asset condition. This is the important one for Safe Routes, expanding the program, which used to be for K-8, for children in grades K-8, and now expands to high school. So it's students grades K through 12. And improve safety and accessibility for people walking, biking, and using other micromobility modes like scooters, e-scooters, and e-bikes. So that micromobility mode and that other active transportation devices is now part of the funding program. What I see this law doing is, in effect, providing funding to what the Federal Highway Administration calls the safe system approach, which is an internationally recognized practice that sets an imperative that no one should die or be seriously injured on our roadways, which is, I think something we can all agree is what we would like. So rather than focusing on changing human behavior and preventing all collisions, the safe system approach refocuses transportation system decision and operations to anticipating human errors and reducing impact that forces to minimize crash severity and save lives. So they kind of go through these 6 principles in safe system approach: that fatalities and serious injuries are unacceptable, that humans make mistake, humans are vulnerable, responsibly is shared, but not necessarily equally shared, that safety is proactive, and that redundancy is crucial. So by acknowledging these principles, the safe system approach aims to achieve improvements that kind of focus on these 5 areas that are in this, this little diagram that they provide. So safe roads, which means safe for drivers, pedestrians, bicyclists, and so on. Safe vehicles, safe speeds, safe roads, and post-crash care. But what I really want to point out from this approach is in 2022, the US Department of Transportation released its new vision for roadway safety, and it really changes the traditional approach to transportation planning and engineering, which says that we must strive for 0 roadway fatalities. That's the only acceptable number of deaths, that 0 is the only acceptable number of deaths, that the US DOT is committed to taking substantial comprehensive action to significantly reduce serious and fatal injuries, and that reaching 0 will require a significant cultural shift that treats roadway deaths as unacceptable and preventable. And in this process, the FHWA has debuted a new logo or slogan that says 0 is our goal and a safe system is how we get there. So I wanted to bring this up just to kind of show you that, that you may have heard of other things like Safe Routes to School and Complete Streets, and that these are all connected. And that's kind of maybe important to kind of identify where those connections happen. So we created this diagram. It's pretty simple. And there's some nuances here that, you don't get out of a simple diagram, but just wanted to show that, this 0 deaths goal influences a strategy, which is the safe system approach, and some methods for achieving the safe system approach include Complete Streets, Safe Routes to School, Safe Routes to Transit, Safe Routes to Parks, etc. So the rest of this presentation is really more focusing on the Safe Routes to School and Complete Streets. But those are methods for achieving these 0 death goals and as part of the safe system approach. So if you don't know about Complete Streets or Complete and Green Streets, it focuses on designing streets that enable all users to travel safely, providing safety programs that reduce fatalities and serious injuries. They're designed for everyone, and by everyone we mean all roadway users of all ages and of all abilities. And basically with the Complete Streets approach, we're looking at roadway design not solely about moving cars and trucks as fast as possible, but really what's happening in our communities and how do we best make sure all people are addressed in the roadway system. And then in addition, in New Jersey, where we do have significant levels of flooding due to climate change and sea level rise, we also include green streets, which are streets that address stormwater runoff through green infrastructure. Okay, so I'm focusing a little bit more on Safe Routes to School today. So I do want to tell you about the 3 pillars of our New Jersey Safe Routes to School program. The first and really one of the most important pillars is the 8 transportation management associations with service areas that cover the entire state. So some of our counties are split into multiple transportation management areas that have, that serve New Jersey. What they do all have is regional safe routes to school coordinators that are there to really help at the local level. And so an easy way to find your regional coordinator is to go to our saferoutesnj.org website, and right there on the main page, it says find your safe routes to school regional coordinator, and brings you to this page where you can click on and find out exactly which TMA you need to reach to get free technical assistance. So what do I mean by safe routes to school free technical assistance? So there are several types of programs, and this is not a comprehensive list. This is some of the top ones. So help with coordinating walk and bike to school events, for doing bicycle and pedestrian safety education in schools, to doing walk assessments or bike assessments to identify challenges and barriers in the neighborhood to walking and biking, to then take those assessments and put them into what we call a school travel plan that better and more significantly addresses what those barriers are and how to hopefully address them, whether that's through something that towns or schools can do immediately or for applying for grant funding. They also do student contests like poster contests, bookmark contests, really fun things like that to help get the students engaged. They also help with applying for our Safe Routes to School recognition program. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And also work to change policy. So whether it's school or school district policy on walking and biking and creating more supportive policy on that level, or complete streets policies. And if anybody's a fan of Sustainable Jersey and know their municipality or schools participate, all of this can help get points through the Sustainable Jersey program. Okay, so that's a brief thing about the TMAs, and we have TMAs on regional coordinators on the call today, so they can also answer questions. A little bit about the New Jersey Safe Routes Resource Center at Rutgers University, which was set up to help assist public officials, transportation and health professionals, general school and municipal officials, and nonprofits and the general public in creating a safer, more accessible walking, bicycling, and traveling by other wheeled modes through education, research, information about best practices. So that's a little bit about what we do. Our program goals at the Safe Routes Resource Center include educating about safe walking and bicycling. We're finding ways to prioritize health and equity, nurturing all sorts of partnerships across the state with other professionals and agencies interested in similar agencies and organizations interested in similar goals, like the Bike and Walk Coalition, and working to help implement safe and accessible infrastructure. And also we do a bunch of research and do that research and help disseminate that research and best practices. So some of the resources we do at the Safe Routes Resource Center is, again, find your TMA coordinator. One of the first steps we want you to do is reach out to your local coordinator to set up time to talk about how to set up a program in your municipality or school district. We provide information on how to apply for grants. We have curriculum and safety lesson plans that we provide and videos. We do short and sometimes longer how-to videos and case study videos of how to implement this in your community, or safety snippets. We have crossing guard resources, which we actually even have a sister page we put together that really focuses on crossing guard training and education that can help, and usually through municipal police departments, but sometimes other ways as well. We have design guides that we help put together for towns and to use when applying for funding. We have policy documents and templates. And of course, our research studies. And one of the things we do is we kind of bundle this all together and say, contact us through our help desk. And I'll have a slide on that in a minute. But I do want to just highlight a couple of things. Our recognition program is very popular, where we have 4 levels where we can identify and acknowledge the steps you're taking in your community, whether your school, municipality, or district. We have a first step, a bronze, silver, gold level, and there's different achievements at each level to show. And then the TMAs present awards based on who's applied and what level they've reached. And that we do really tie this together with Sustainable Jersey. So often at our silver award level, if you get silver level, you automatically get Sustainable Jersey points for some of the various Sustainable Jersey actions that we help promote and review. Another thing to know, because you may be saying, hey, I've heard of the Safe Routes Resource Center, but I've also heard of this thing called the Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center. Are they the same thing? Those are both at Rutgers. They are sister resource centers to each other, and we collaborate on many, many, many things. We are funded by the Department of Transportation. So, you know, if you've heard of both, there are different staff at each, but we all work together. So just let you know that. And that's where at the Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center, more information about complete streets, policies, and our New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Council, and more on micromobility laws and guidance, and also a help desk there as well. You can visit us. We've got social media. We've got newsletters if you'd like to sign up to hear more about what's going on in New Jersey. But what I really want to promote is coming soon, starting next week, we have our New Jersey Safe Routes Academy, which is every Thursday lunch and learns in September from 12 to 1:30. It's free. You can sign up through our website at saferoutesnj.org. We have our sessions coming up on infrastructure grant training, school zone safety strategies, a session called Safe Routes, Safe Routes, Safe Routes, Safe Roads, Safe Systems, which is about the safe system approach. And our final one in the month will be about safe routes to high schools and how we're expanding the program to high schools. But while you're signing up for free things, you might also want to sign up for our Complete Streets Summit, which will be held Wednesday, November 1st. It's in person at the Rutgers College Avenue Student Center all day on the New Brunswick campus. And registration for that is also free at completestreets2023.com. Okay, Paul, do you want me to talk a little bit about what's going on at the Department of Transportation with the Safe Routes to School grant applications? I can run through this really quickly.
Yes, please.
Okay, so what I like to end with is, you know, what you happen to be in the process of right now is the grant solicitations are open right now for the infrastructure grants that you apply for directly through the Department of Transportation. They're due November 17th. That might seem far away, but for these applications, it's not. So a little bit about what you can fund. There are infrastructure projects to encourage and enable children in grades K through 12 to walk or bike to school. They must be within 2 miles of a K through 12 school. They must be infrastructure projects only. And they must be spent on projects within the public right of way. So if you are on private property, like it's for a private school, it's eligible only if the private school has permission that people have public access to it. They cover all things pedestrian safety, so sidewalks, curb ramps, crosswalk installation, striping, pedestrian crossing signs, push button signal heads, pedestrian zone delineation with signs, stripes, lighting, and flashing lights, all of that. They include bicycle safety projects for on-street bicycle lanes or shoulders, or off-road bicycle path or trails, signs, bicycle parking, always a really important thing that many applicants forget to put in the school bike parking when they do apply for this. And we really stress the need for safe, accessible, easy to use school bike parking. And most importantly, whether it's walking or biking, the adding in the traffic calming and crosswalk treatments that slow drivers in school zones, so important. So things like curb extensions, center island medians, radar feedback, speed humps and tables. You can read this list. All of these are very important to include because often the problem statement that municipalities put forward when they apply for this is that they're speeding in the school zones. So they need to address the speeding with traffic calming. So what's new in the grant for this year? Well, like I said, hey, we just expanded the program to K through 12. So this grant infrastructure used to be just for infrastructure grants, used to be for K through 8, and now they go through high schools, just this application round. So that's great news. We used to require student tallies as part of the application process that has been discontinued. And this is really important. If a municipality is deciding they must schedule and attend a one-on-one meeting, they are mandatory in order to submit the grant application. There's a lot more to this, so I'm going to suggest that you come to one of our grant trainings if you want to hear more about this. What other quick and easy information to know, it's this 2024 grant round has 20 million allocated for grants. That may sound like a lot, but if you look at the number of grants applications submitted versus the number of grant awarded in previous grant rounds, it goes quick. It's 20 million is a fantastic number, and it's going to be used. It never goes unspent as far as applications. These applications go both to the Department of Transportation and our 3 metropolitan planning organizations. I could give you a whole tutorial on what MPOs are, but just know that this is a joint application process in which 50% of the money gets sub-allocated to these 3 regional metropolitan planning organizations to submit. So both there's more information about these grants on both the Department of Transportation's website and these MPO websites, depending on what region you're in. Key dates with this to know: the solicitation went out on July 17th to every municipality. It went even in the actual physical mail. We have these grant information training webinars. One is already up on our website. You can go view the recording at any time. There's 2 more, one on September 7th, so a week from today at noon, and the next one on October 4th at 1:30 to 3. And those you register for free through our website. These one-on-one meetings that we suggest municipalities schedule ASAP only go to September 22nd. So they need to be scheduled right away. And again, they're mandatory in order to submit a grant. And then the grants are due November 17th. Just to let you know about quickly other funding, there are state funds as well. This is state funds that use the Transportation Trust Fund that collects $400 million in state aid and then is redistributed to municipalities and counties for transportation improvements. And those grants are open every year, usually around the May-June time period. It's never too early to plan for what you're going to put in for those grants, whether they're the federal grants or the state grants. One last resource to take down: the New Jersey DOT Local Aid Resource Center is really where you go to find out all about these grants, whether they're state or federal, or even, there's a few other listed on that site. It's a fantastic resource. If you're ever wondering about grants, that's the site to go to for New Jersey transportation grants. But one last quick tip. Something to keep in mind: this is my little wonky graphic that I just threw together in PowerPoint. It's not that fancy, but what I'd like to just for you to walk away with, if you have a bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure project and it's it's smaller, it's under $350,000, it's best not to use federal money for that if you can. That's something you can use state money for. Sometimes if it's trails, there could be county open space trust fund money for that. Sometimes you can even put into a local budget, or there's maybe some foundation money. Federal projects, you should have minimum 350,000 up to say 1.5 million. Those are bigger projects, network projects. Federal projects take a long time to implement, and they take a lot of staff time to implement. So therefore, you need a bigger project when you're thinking about these grants. And if you're not there and you're like, I don't even know what we should prioritize, the Department of Transportation has another rolling application for bicycle and pedestrian planning assistance. They've done plans for over 100 towns in New Jersey. They have on-call consultants that they pair with the municipality. There's no money changed. It's just they pair you up with an on-call consultant, and they work with your municipality to identify a plan for your town so that you can prioritize where to spend infrastructure funds. So I talked with Bill Revere. He said, just give everybody my email, William Revere at dot.nj.gov. He's in the Bureau of Safety Bicycle and Pedestrian Programs. There's a website. It's a DOT website. It's not the easiest link, but I'll try and put in chat in case you want to see more about it. And because on that website is an application package. When you're looking at all the application packages, keep in mind the Department of Transportation has all of these design guidance on complete streets, school zone design guides, school bike parking, complete streets and green streets for all, model policy guide, and planning for greenways and trails. So these are just a few of the design guidance. Occasionally I'll work with a municipality and they'll say, we can't do that name your traffic calming or other thing. That's not something we think the department will want. And I'll say, well, it's in their design guide. So yes, they do want it. So take a look at these design guides. I'll let you know the school zone design guides. It's in the process of being updated. And hopefully we'll have that sometime next year. It's still good, but if there's something you don't see in the school zone design guide, it's in the process of being updated. You can reach out to us to ask if it's something that would be an eligible app in your application. So thank you.
Leanne, thank you.
Thank you
so much. And a quick question, will we be able to share this slide deck? Can you share that with us so we can share it with everyone?
Absolutely. Okay. Happy to.
Thank you. Thank you. And, we're running a little over on time, but I wanted to ask a couple quick questions. Mike was asking if you could expand a little bit on your offer to create local or municipal design guides.
Oh, for the technical assistance, that's with the on-call consultants. Is that what it? Oh, this is Mike Dannemiller. Mike, what's your question?
Mike, you want to clarify?
You said that you were offering services to do local design guides. That was one of the bullets.
Travel plans.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, design guides. The bike ped planning assistance is for circulation studies, pedestrian safety assessments, bicycle feasibility, trail feasibility, all of that. The Safer to School Resource Center working with the TMAs do technical assistance for creating school travel plans.
Okay. I thought suddenly there was a new resource
available
for you to do more.
No.
Because your work is awesome. Their work is awesome, folks. Use them.
And
lots of great resources, and it can be a little overwhelming. So you have that academy coming up.
Because the infrastructure bill, whatever act, investment act, the Infrastructure Investment Act added 60% additional funds to transportation alternatives, which is where the Safer to School program lies. That's why we're seeing 20 million in this current round for 2024 Safer to School infrastructure grants. So yes, that is a real number, and that is just for this one round. Typically the Safer to School grants come out every other year. And so what we typically see, and no promises, is Safer to School is out now. Apply for your Safer to School project that addresses safety for students in K through 12. Next year, we anticipate seeing a transportation alternatives, which covers other things besides the Safer to School. But again, that grant funding amount has received a 60% increase with the IIJA bill that was passed in 2021.
Great to know. Okay, well, thank you so much, Leanne. And we will get that slide deck from you. Thank you. And we'll put that up on our website. So what I'd like to do is pivot to the bike bus or bike train. And I think what I'd like to do is start with Karen. Karen, I know you are representing Bike JC and the bike bus efforts there. And I said I would share the screen for you. And
yes, please.
Great. So I will.
So I take it I just do a little bit of how we got here, because we've been doing this since May. And
well, I think, yeah, what I think would be great is there are people that are expressing interest in this, and knowing what you know now, so the salient points that you could share with anyone who is considering doing this, taking on a bike bus. How you can flatten the learning curve. That's kind of the general question for all the bike bus folks, bike train people. And if you can share that, that would be great, Karen.
Sure. So my name is Karen. I know it's really close to Karen. And I am originally from Belgium, and going to school, you can actually you see projects on the side. It says bike bus. Yep. If you click on that, you will see it's on the right side. Yep, right there. So I'm a volunteer with Bike Bus and Bike JC, and I was really interested in having a way for kids to go to the to school via bike. And I noticed that there was bike buses forming across the country. The one that Sam does in Portland being one of the more, I'm sorry, the sound, it's not on my end, right?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, I'm sorry. If there's anything, please let me know. When I met Ryan from Bike GC, who is the developer of this fantastic map that you see there, and when he told me that the city had reached out, given that they wanted to see if anything could be done for the bike to school and work week, we got together and tried with other parents, because I'm foremost, or I was foremost a student and school advocate, to see how we could reach out to parents. And what we did, if that's a question of what is the easy way, I think what we had in Jersey City was pretty much perfect in the way that Bike JC, if you don't know, they have been for years advocating for safer streets for bike infrastructures, etc. They have a lot of members. They have a lot of people who bicycle. So with that, there was knowledge, but also people who were there on the ground on day one to say, we will help you getting the kids to school. So volunteers who will be front and back, and even do corking if it's a long line. So that was a very important part, especially as you can see on the map. Jersey City is a very, very large, and there is no such thing as only having one line. You have just in the public school system, you have 30,000 students. You'll have over 30 schools, and with that, if you add all the other schools, the private ones, the charters, etc., it comes out to an enormous amount of students that we would, like to see go to school by bike if they prefer to do so. And we didn't start by saying we're making a route, although we did make use of the bike lanes, mostly protected bike lanes that there was, but we asked people, where are you now and where do you need to be? And step by step, we added, because you can see they're all colored. And if you click on one of them, like for example, the orange one, you can, if you click on the map, it shows you at what time the starting point is. Like for this one, for example, it's the grind shop. Coffee shop starting point's always really good because it has the additional benefit of having a starting point with coffee and some food. And then it shows people where they can pick up. So if you don't have to do the whole route, you can just add on where do you need to be, where do you live, where you want to go. There is no way that we have lines for everybody from the front of their door. They just can meet us what the best spot is for them, and then join to the school where they need to be. That's the approach we've had starting out, and we've added more and more lines up till the end of June when we did this last. If you scroll down, you will see some pictures that are on our Instagram, from Bike JC and Bike Bus JC. This is, the amount of schools that we had signed up. This is from our first. These are some pictures from our first days of doing this. I think you can click on the little arrow there, and it will go to. It will take you to the Instagram, and with all the different pictures of different days. We had mostly elementary school and some middle schools as well, students join in. And as you can see in these videos, this was, if I recall well, a child that had been on a scooter and was in a situation that needed to be resolved. if you're an avid biker, you know what to do on moments like that. And it really, I believe that programs like these, it's the volunteers that make it. If you have a lot of volunteers helping you out, saying, yes, I will be there that day to be on whatever line works well with that for them. And of course, we did ask people to sign up, so we had some idea of who is going to show up, who's going to be there, how many people will be there, so that you know how many volunteers you need to guide them through. We did ask, because I know that's something that's been debated, should we have do people need to sign off on anything? And we did do that if the parents did not go with us. If you go up a little bit higher, I believe there is even scroll up a little bit, you can see all the sign up, and it says next bus June 2nd. You know, we're still working on everything for what comes September. And we actually did do more after June 2nd. So this is our sign up, where people could give in their email, and so we can reach them, have discussions with them, where we explain a little bit, where they also telling us like, what days would you want to do this, where we also explain to them, it is going towards, it's not coming back. It's only happened a couple of times that there was actually also on the way back, but it's a going towards the school. And I believe in all, it makes for people to have a better understanding of, yes, I can do this. You've had parents join who said, I wasn't sure if this is safe enough. Can we do this in Jersey City? And that just by going with the bike bus, they learn that, yes, it is feasible, but if you take these precautions, and I believe that's what's important as well.
Super. Karen, thank you so much. And again, Bike JC, you go to their website, you can scroll around on these resources as well. And good luck with this coming school year, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to go to Montclair Bike Bus. We have Drury and Jessica, Drury Thorpe, Jessica Tillier. And are you able to share your screen, Drury?
I can share my screen.
Here you go.
Great. Well, I'm so inspired as always. Just hearing everything that everybody's doing. Thank you so much.
And this is Jessica, not Drury.
Yeah, I'm Jess. I have lived in Montclair for a little bit over a year. Drury has lived in Montclair for,
I would say it, 50 years.
50 years. Yeah. So I think that's actually in itself a little bit of the magic of the Montclair Bike Bus. We were founded by a group of about 5 parents who all come from very different backgrounds, but are all obsessive bike people. And we saw the opportunity to come together to create what is now the Montclair Bike Bus. When we started in March, it was quite truly maybe 3 or 4 of us riding every day with a group of kids. Drury was riding. So in Montclair, we have 6 schools. Our school system is completely unzoned for equity. And so kids kind of go to school all over town. And so we really wanted to create a bike bus that wasn't just for one school, but was focused on all of the schools. And I think Jersey City Bike Bus is similar in that, which requires a lot more planning. But we started with a small group of parents, maybe max we had 10 kids all together riding to 6 or 7 different schools. And by the end of the school year, we were at almost 300 kids. Montclair has very few bike lanes. We have 1 bike lane. And so the infrastructure really wasn't there. And it just shows the nascent demand. So for anybody that's just thinking, wait, what is a bike bus? A bike bus is an organized group ride to school or beyond with a set route and timetable. So you saw some of those timetables and routes that Corinne shared. Bike buses are also they're a global movement. I mean, this is not something that was invented anywhere. This is, I think, really coming from both children and grown-ups that, especially coming out of the pandemic, see this opportunity for more joy and discovery, want to reduce our carbon emissions through the ease and satisfaction of biking. And it also creates equity and belonging, as a bike is much less expensive than a car and is such a great equalizer. These are three things that really has been behind what we've done and looking at other bike buses, what others have done as well. So what we do is we are on a mission to make biking together to school joyful, fun, and safe. And we see doing that in 4 ways. One is building community support in our town and in schools, creating rider tools, timetables, and routes. We're always learning from other bike buses. We can share a little bit of what we've done. Hosting events and gatherings. So what we've realized is creating safe, fun, joyful weekend events is such a great way to get parents who might be nervous about biking to school out on a Saturday morning with the offer of, we'll give you a free donut just to try out the bike bus. And then we're also more actively advising on transportation infrastructure redesign in our town. And some of us are also starting to work with bike bus organizers on the national level. So one thing that has been really wonderful is we created this bike bus pledge, which I'll let Jury take us through.
Okay. So you can see the bike bus pledge here. And what we're showing you, by the way, is something that we put out to parents who are interested in the bike bus and possible ride leaders. So this was a slideshow that we presented to them at a meeting and are happy to share it. But here's our bike bus pledge. Wearing a helmet, look at what's ahead of me and listen to what's around me. You can read through those. And we tried to take some of the stuff that actually Paul gave us and put it more in kid-friendly language. And that's what you have here. I love the last one, be good to my body and honor the earth by riding my bike. But all really important stuff. And when we meet as a group, we say this pledge before we head out. And it's kind of a part of every event that we have. We make sure we say the pledge. You know, the kids that we're picking up along the way aren't hearing it at the beginning, but sometimes it happens at the end, but it's out there. Anytime someone joins it, we say, make sure you read the pledge with your children before they head out in the morning. So it's kind of on parents to read that as well. All right, next slide, Jess. So here's our roles on the road. We've got kind of a captain in the front, a caboose in the back. Sheepdogs are the ones who kind of ride alongside the children, keeping them in their line. Sprinters and corkers, the sprinter heads up and will cork an intersection. And we do, because we don't have bike lanes, we do our best to kind of create our own bike lanes with those sheepdogs on the side. And mostly that's been done by the parents who ride with us, or we've gotten some really great volunteers within town who have kids that have either graduated or just aren't riding to school anymore. Thank you, Paul. Many of them are through Bike Walk Montclair, who love to ride with us, and they serve some of these functions as well. We put this out to all of the families, just a little bike education safety principles so that they understand why we're doing things like not going in between cars, why, using our turn signals. And then a big one that always makes people feel nervous is when we take the lane, which is the next slide.
You know what?
We don't have it on this one.
That.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing I thought would be great to share, I'm just going to stop screen sharing for a second, and bring up our website. So we also developed a website. Sorry. Actually, let me just exit out of full screen mode. So we developed actually, I'm just going to go back.
I can do it. I've got it. Oh, you got it. Okay.
Yeah, so a couple of other things that we help educate bike bus leaders on is how to prepare before you ride, what to bring on your ride, and then amplifying our message. So we have a bike bus chat that's on WhatsApp. We have bike bus school chats, and then we have a leader chat. So these are all on WhatsApp. And then this should bring up. Can everybody?
Can I get one or
see?
both?
Yeah, great.
Can I get one?
Drury, can you go ahead?
Yeah, I got it. So when we've got interested parties who want to join the bike bus, we ask them to join our WhatsApp, and you'll see there on the right, you see all of our 7 elementary schools, and you know, this is our route map. That's showing, it looks like it's showing one of our routes to Bradford. Yeah, you can click on any of those and find them. And just like Jersey City, you know, you don't have to get to any of the specific corners with a time on them. You just have to be at a corner along the route, and then you just hop on. And the most wonderful, joyous thing that happens is, like, we ring our bells as we ride, as kids join. We see the other bike bus, like I see Jess heading north while I'm heading south, and we get to wave to each of the bike buses as we go by. It's just a huge amount of community building. And what we're trying to do is streamline this so that, and share all of these materials so that other towns might, you know, want to use some of this and tailor it to what they want and what they need. This is the 2-pager that goes out to all of the families when we start the bike bus. And, you know, focusing on safety, but also on joy and on the environmental aspect of reducing emissions.
Thank you so much. A lot of great
Thank
stuff
you.
there. And I don't want to rush too much here, but I want to get right to Joseph Kemp, who has been doing this for a while. And we have a spoiler alert here. We have a questions like, where's to go after Joe? So Joseph Kemp, if you could just give us a little idea of how long you've been doing this and tell us about your experience with the bike train.
Sure. So, yeah, we call ours the bike train because bike bus wasn't a word when we were going. We started in September of 2016, and we've been doing it every Tuesday that the weather has allowed since. We started with my son when he hit 1st grade, and he's now in 8th grade. To give you a background, I'm in Raritan Borough. We are part of the Bridgewater School District, but we have one school in town. We are 8,000 people. As a town, we have one elementary school that's K through 4. And so that is the only neighborhood school that we have. After that, we have to cross major highways to get to our schools, and it's just not going to happen. So we are limited by age and limited by ability as to when kids can start and when kids can ride. It's 1.6 miles from my house to the school. And we pick up along the way. We do it every Tuesday. We call it Two-Wheeled Tuesday. We've got t-shirts that say first rule about bike train is that you tell everyone about bike train, and we just have a great time with it. But it is something that you know, we are a tier 1 school, so bicycles are incredibly important to transportation needs in our town. We do not have bike lanes because we are very much part of the neighborhood. We do cross a couple county roads to do this, but largely starting from a park and riding to the school for that time. And I can give you a couple pictures of what we've done. There we go. So this is the route that we typically follow, and you can see we start at the Big Star. We've got timing that we do every year based on when the bus schedules are or when school starts. We have people join us at the top of the hill. If they're less experienced riders, they can still get, you know, about 0.3 miles worth of a ride in with us, with 2 pickup points. Like I said, we're a small town. I mean, Raritan Borough itself is only 2 square miles. So at the end of the day, we're just not going to be one of these large scales, but 380 to 410 students a year inside of our school, and we will top out around 40 riders in the spring. So we see almost 10% participation inside of our school. And what that looks like is right here. We see all walks and all shapes of kids, but we've got kindergartners through 4th grade. And then once they're done with us, they move on to schools that are no longer bike accessible for our neighborhood. And so we have parents that text back to us and call to us all the time. Oh, you know, the thing we missed the most about K through 4 was that we were a part of this bike train, and something that we could really enjoy. We teach safe riding. We put out a lot of neighborhood advocacy. So we're trying to do, you know, remember when you rode to school, now it's their turn, help them arrive safely. Don't be distracted drivers. We put this up in municipal chats and other areas. This is what our bike rack looks like when we peak out in the spring. So we are very overwhelmed as far as what the infrastructure actually looks like. But a lot of that is really just a matter of when we've been able to do this, and that this is kind of a growing movement. When we started in 2016, we had this bike rack and we had no neighborhood riders. There were absolutely zero. And so I reached out to RideWise that year in August and said, I'm going to be working from home on Tuesdays. I would love to get this going. Is there anyone that's worked with it? And the person who was at the time the pedestrian and cycling lead at RideWise reached back to me, and we built this. And then we've had John work with us, and now we've got Katie working with us. So it's really been a wonderful thing to see and a lot of fun to do. But really at the end of the day, we're just trying to teach them, trying to see if I can get my other stuff up. I can't, so I'm just going to stop sharing. But just having a lot of fun with it, but really at the end of the day, trying to make bikes more of a program inside of a school that sees their parents bike to work, and sees the need for alternative transportation as something to get around, because we're just not necessarily an area that has the wealth to, you know, have cars all the time for everything, or have multiple cars for a family. So biking is incredibly important for us.
Joseph, thank you so much. And I want to pose this question to everyone because it's a big one. It comes up. The idea of waivers and insurance. That was a question we had in the chat. How do you handle the concerns about having liability insurance? Bike JC, Karen, I don't know if anyone else is able to weigh in on that. One of the, while you're thinking, when we first started looking into this, I asked Sam Balzo in Portland about waivers. He goes, we don't do waivers. You know, that was my first kind of initial reaction, was to have some sort of document. And, you know, he made the analogy. It's like, well, if you have a parent who takes their kid to school that day, or if you're taking their kid to school that day, you don't have them sign a waiver, do you? And it's like, no, I guess I don't. And
yeah,
I believe
think that used to be our perspective, but I think that's changed, just because if you had a friend take 200 of your kids to school, then you might want to think about safety. Also just legitimizing what we do. Bike drivers sign a waiver, and there's liability for buses. So we originally were just like, let's just get on the road. Let's get as many people on the road. Let's remove any barriers. But now, as we're getting more organized and structured, we are thinking that we do need insurance, and to be thinking a little bit more about liability, even if we aren't communicating that, or, you know, leading with that message, or ever. We never want to lead with a message of a lack of safety. We really want to lead with a message of like joy, fun, come join us, everything is going to be okay. But on the back end, we also want to make sure that, you know, we're doing the same things we would do if we were opening a restaurant or creating a car service or anything like that.
Jessica, is it still primarily a parent-led effort? I mean, the kids out there riding, are they with a parent, their own parent, I should say?
Primarily, but we think that to be able to get to where we want to get, we want to be able to back away from parents having to accompany their children. So the more that we can bring in volunteers and hopefully even start to hire people in the next couple of years, the more, structure we want to be in place to make sure that we're doing something that's not just our own work, but is something that even when, we're no longer the leaders of this, that it continues to go forward.
I just want to
Joe,
piggyback on what
okay, go ahead,
Jess
Drew.
said too. And somebody asked in the chat, what are some of the biggest barriers? I think in order to get, as Jess alluded to, is in order to get as many students out there on the road as we can, we have to create a system where parents don't have to ride with their kids, because that is a huge barrier. And so that's, another reason why we're thinking about this, thinking about insurance a little differently, and we're moving towards a system where parents don't have to ride with their kids or have another parent be assigned to their kid.
I lost Joe. Joe, are you still there? And Karen, are you able to weigh in on the insurance question?
I can say as much as not so much the insurance. I did see some, maybe somebody from Bike GC, if they're here. I think I see Ryan there. Maybe they might want to weigh in on that. But we have kids that go with us without parents, and we did make them sign a waiver, because, as Jessica said, it is when when people pretty much hand you their child to go into traffic. I think on each side it is good to know that, on what premises that is done. So I don't know how far legally any of that even would take us. I don't know. And I also don't want to speak on behalf of Bike JC on this, because I'm not on the board. So it might be better to pick that up on a later point.
Okay.
But we do when the kids go without the parents, we have a waiver that is signed.
Yeah, I can jump in real quick if you want. This is Ryan from Bike JCU, also one of the organizers. It's a hard one. I mean, to Jess's point, like safety is the number one concern in how we do the rides, and I think a lot of the resources around how to take the lanes or not and all that stuff is I'm really interested to collaborate with y'all and use what you have there, because we've wanted to make resources like that as well. Liability is also a big concern, and it's not even the same as safety, right? Like there are ways we can, we can be completely safe, and then there's still just it's hard to reason about what kind of liability we might have. In theory, we could just have everybody sign a waiver. I mean, we did that for even the parents who were joining us on the rides. And so one of our board members is works for an insurance company professionally, and he has a lot of thoughts about how he wants to beef up our story on that side of things. It is interesting that there are these much bigger bike buses that run, and they're just like in Portland, Sam Baltos is just no, it's the parents are doing it. It's not, he's hopefully it's that simple, that would be nice. But I guess we're in sort of uncharted territory, so it'd be good for all of us to continue that conversation and figure out the best practices. Yeah. So,
well,
not a simple answer there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's complicated, and I'll quickly share that Joseph had to leave, but he did say that they're self-insured. So the parents tend to ride with them. He'd said about 10 to 25% of the riders were without parents. So I think that's is mostly a parent-led activity there. But you do have a few exceptions, and I understand how you're saying, Jess, that if you're really going to expand things, it's just not practical for every parent to be out there, which is in part why not everybody is, why it's not practical for everyone to drive their kid to school. That's why we have buses in the first place. one bus driver in a big bus. But we're a little over time, so I want to observe that. I want to thank you all and recognize that we have two areas here. We have the Safe Routes of School, very traditional, lots of funding and things that go along with a lot of red tape that goes along with all of that. And then we have the bike bus, which is emerging here in a number of different formats, and we're still working things out. And at the same time, all of us are trying to make for safer communities through better infrastructure and bike lanes and slowing people down and policy and all that stuff as well. So, and that is another kind of backdrop to the bike bus and our Safe Routes to School efforts. So I just want to thank you all. There's more to be done. I'd love to see if we can all collaborate and create a kind of educational, informative video to show people and help train things. But again, the backdrop of what we're trying to do here is this would be so much easier if we had safer roads. So that's kind of behind a lot of our efforts that will continue. So thank you all. Anyone want a quick last closing question or statement? Just jump on. And I what I did not do was ask or invite everyone to add their contact information to the chat if they would like. So there are some resources out there. I always like to click on the links to get those and save those after the meeting ends if you want to take some more time on those. So look in the chat. There's some great resources. Bike JC, Montclair Bike Bus shared some things, and of course the Bicycle Resource Center, great stuff there. And one last plug, starting for the next 4 Thursdays, the Bike and Resource Center will be conducting the Safe Routes to School Academy. So look for that. Again, a great resource. And keep up the great work out there. Be safe. Enjoy this Labor Day weekend. And thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I sent you the slides.
Thank you, Leanne.
So feel free, I send them as a PDF. Feel free to post them on wherever you need to.
Super. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye.
You too. Have a great weekend. Hello, Deborah.